40. Do we have any homes?
No.
Okay, we're going to skip to verse 46 and 47. And this is Prabhupada's lecture. When you hear that. So we'll read those verses first. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Chari Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Guruvani Nirvite Saraswati Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. You're going to need this, Agastya.
This for you.
Ramanasya Vijanataha Yavan. All that. Artha is meant. Udapane. In a well of water. Sarvata. In all respects. Samskrita Udake. In a great reservoir of water. Tavan. Similarly. Sarvesi. In all. Vedas. Vedic literature. Brahmanasya. Of the man who knows the supreme Brahman. Vijanata. Who is complete in knowledge. Who is in complete knowledge. So, two more. Some more. So we will read the purport. First of all, the verse. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Let's repeat that. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind it. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So, Agastya, you can.
The rituals and
Louder.
sacrifices mentioned in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedic literature are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 15.15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So, self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entity with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15.7. The living entities are parts and parcels of Krishna. Therefore, revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest professional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a lowly family like that of a Chandala, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the great deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why he, the Lord, was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna. And the highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism.
Does it say wisdom?
Mysticism.
This is, yeah. Okay. So now we have the sheet. We're going to hear Prabhupada's lecture on this point. So it says that the Sankirtan, just now we have performed. So Prabhupada usually would begin his classes with Harinam, chanting Hare Krishna. He says, the Sankirtan we have just now performed is a vibration of the transcendental sound. This will help us in clearing the dust which we have accumulated on the surface of our mind. The whole thing is misunderstanding. We, as pure soul, pure consciousness, naturally we are aloof from material contamination. But due to our long association with this material atmosphere, we have accumulated a great thick layer of dust on the mind. So as soon as the dust is cleared off, then we can see ourselves what we are. So here Prabhupada has summarized this whole lecture. And basically the purport also. We have passed many, many lives already in different species, 8,400,000 species, before you can arrive at human form. And in every species we experience what's called ahara nidra bhaya. Ahara nidra bhaya. Huh? Ahara nidra bhaya maituna. So ahara means eating, nidra means sleep, bhaya means fearing, and maitunam means reproduction. So Prabhupada says that this ahara nidra bhaya maitunam, this is animal life. This is what the animals do. They eat, they sleep, they are always fearful, and the dog eats the cat. I sleep, you sleep, dog sleeps, cat sleeps. We reproduce, and also cats and dogs reproduce, and also we are afraid of enemies. Cats and dogs are also afraid of enemies. So what's the difference between cats and dogs and human beings? What do you think the difference is, Augustine?
One has the ability to serve Krishna.
Yes, one has the ability to have self-realization through serving Krishna. What are the 3 levels of self-realization? What is your homework? This is why it's important that the parents sit down with their kids during the kids' classes. That way you can make sure. If they don't do the homework, they don't see it. I'm asking him a question, we've gone over this like 5 or 10 times in different sessions, and he still hasn't learned. Can you remember any of it? There's 3 levels. That's why it's very important that parents sit with the children during the classes so that you can direct them to learn. Okay, so there are 3 levels of self-realization. First level is understanding the difference between the body and the what? Your nose?
Soul.
The soul.
I remember the between the soul and Paramatma.
Yes. And what do you think the third one is? Understand that the material world, the individual souls,
Is all a product of Krishna?
and Paramatma are all coming from Krishna. Then you're fully self-realized when you understand that. Can the animals understand that?
No.
Huh?
No.
Why?
Like intelligence.
Yeah, they're only concerned with eating, sleeping, fearing, and reproducing. That's it. They don't think about it. Are there any human beings like that? That only do those things?
Yes.
So, is there any difference between a human being who only does those 4 things that the animals do and an animal? No, there's no difference. They try for self-realization. They're not actually a human being. They're a 2-legged animal. You ever see a 2-legged animal? No? How about in your school? Are there any 2-legged animals in your school?
Yeah.
Well, you don't go to school.
Yeah, last year there were.
There were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were 2-legged animals, not interested at all in self-realization. They're interested in the latest cell phone or social media or this thing or that thing. No interest at all. Okay. So, go ahead. So, therefore, Prabhupada says that because of all these lifetimes that we've gone through already, the mirror of our mind is full of thick layers of dust. Thick layers of dust. There's a mirror there, but that's pretty clean. But if it was full of thick layers of dust, could you see your reflection in the mirror?
No.
No, couldn't see. Therefore, people in our mind is so full of this dust of birth after birth, of sense gratification, eating, fearing, and reproducing, that we have no clue what is the purpose of life, how to attain it, what is self-realization. We have no clue. No clue. And because the families that we're born in, because of the education that they force us to go through in public schools and so forth, the dust just increases, doesn't decrease, it increases. Therefore, a person can go through a whole human life without ever trying for self-realization. They'll try to make money. They'll try to have, bigger family. They'll try to eat more. They'll try to sleep more. They'll spend a lot of money eating. So we are discussing for the last few days on the constitutional position of ourselves, of ourself, myself, yourself, the soul, pure soul. Now we have discussed that this pure soul is distinct from this material body. And we can understand this constitution of the soul by the presence of consciousness. So, for example, does this metal plate have a soul? How do you know? How do you know it has or doesn't have a soul?
It doesn't have consciousness.
Yeah, I throw it like that, doesn't say ouch. Doesn't get upset that I threw it, right? So, if I pick you up and throw you on the ground, would you say ouch? Yeah. So this thing doesn't have a soul, but you have a soul. Some people, these are really the stupid PhDs, they say, well, the soul is developed at a certain stage of material evolution. Do you believe that? No.
No.
Nonsense. Consciousness can be developed. This is what this guy named Turing said in 1950. He's the father of modern computers. You heard of it? Turing?
I think from you.
He said that the computers will get so sophisticated that they'll develop consciousness. AI, yeah. Okay, so is that really consciousness, though? No, it's not consciousness. Okay, so the Lord says, Krishna says, Avinasi tu tad vidi yena sarvam idam, second chapter. And it says, you can understand what you are. You are present all over your body, all over your body. Wherever you can try by pinching your body, you will feel some pain. This part of this body or that body, and this pain feeling will be stopped as soon as the consciousness is taken away from the body. Dead body. Where there is no consciousness, the dead, even he is chopped up by some chopper because the consciousness is gone. Therefore, it's not very difficult to understand it. I am the consciousness. I am not this material body. We have discussed all this point. Now, so far, scriptures are concerned, there are different worlds in a civilized society. But Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the essence of all scripture is to understand my constitutional position. Okay? Understand who I am. Am I this body? Or am I the soul, that emanating consciousness within the body? This is something we have to decide. The earlier we learn, the better. The earlier we're convinced that I'm not this body, I have an eternal soul that's trapped in the body right now, and that soul is the source of all energy in the body. Just like if you have a cell phone, but the battery is dead, the phone will work. So, if you have a body, but it has no soul in it, will the body work? No. The example of that is a Egyptian mummy. Have you ever seen an Egyptian mummy?
Oh, I saw one in a museum once.
Yes. Was it moving and talking?
No,
Did it look like it was a human being at one time?
kind of.
Yeah. You can see the teeth, maybe,
No, it was kind of wrapped up.
wrapped up. But you didn't see the face at all? The face was wrapped up too.
Yeah. Okay, was probably like really like
What?
ugly, yucky. I'm sorry.
So anyway, the mummy is a person, right? Or used to be a person, and the body is preserved. The body moved.
No.
No, because the soul is not there. It was a person. It was a body, but it didn't move. Just like your cell phone is there, but because the battery is dead, it doesn't do anything. So the source of the body is the soul. The source of the consciousness is the soul. So I am that consciousness. You know. But most people think, no, I'm the body. And consciousness is just produced by chemicals at a certain stage. Yeah. Dead body, where there is no consciousness. The dead body does not feel even he's chopped up by some chopper. So the essence of all scripture is to understand my constitutional position. Constitutional position means this is your original nature. It is not, your original nature is not made of blood and bones. It's made of Sat Chita Vigraha. Or to the formulas of the religion, actually. Of course, in the preliminary stages, we require to stick to the formulas of religious scriptures. But we must know the whole idea is targeted to understand my real position. That is the whole idea of all scriptures. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is very nicely described, and that's the verse today. Yavan arta udapane tavan sampluto dake. So, in every religion, and even Hinduism, there's a section called Karma Kanda, and there's a section called Jnana Kanda, and a section called Upasana Kanda. So Kanda is a set of rituals are prescribed for attaining material benefits. And then a Jnana Kanda is a section where disciplines are for attaining knowledge. And Upasana Kanda are sections where one can attain devotional service and love for Krishna. Okay? So most people who follow religions, it can be Christianity, it can be Judaism, it can be Hinduism, it can be Islam. Most religions are concerned with karma kanda. Ritual activities for attaining material benefits. Right. And most of the time, the preachers do not explain that there's something more than this. So, in Christianity, you have what's called prosperity theology. That means that the preacher says, God wants you to be rich. So therefore, if you tithe the church, tithe means if you give donations to the church in a regulated way, God will give you more. And in Islam, they have whole sections of prayers by which, the whole prayer is like this. When they're doing the namaz, at one point they stand like this with their hands. Why do they have their hands open like this? Huh?
To ask
Yes.
for material things.
Yes, exactly. Right. And in Buddhism, they have, blessings. You get blessed to have a new BMW. You get blessed to do this, do that. And in Hinduism, Archana is the same thing, like in the Buddhist, the others. It's, Ayur, Arogya, Aishwarya. They have health, long life, health, and material prosperity. Satyanarayana Puja, it's all about that. So we see that most people are stuck in the karma kanda section of the religion. has this. But then there's other sections. They're supposed to transit from karma. Okay, that's why Prabhupada's saying that in the preliminary stages, we require to stick to the formulas of religious scriptures. But we must know that the whole idea is to understand my real position. That is the whole idea of all scriptures. In the Bhagavad Gita is very nicely described. Yavanarta udapane. Sarvata sampludotake. Tavanar sarve savede subramana savijanata. 15 and 15:7. 15:15 says Sarva Shichanam Pridhi Sanivisto Matak Smriti Gyan.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known.
Okay, that's the main point. The purpose of reading the Vedas is to know Krishna. Go ahead.
Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
So Vedanta is part of the Vedas, or Vedic literature, and Vedanta means to understand the ultimate goal of all knowledge. And that is to know Krishna. Sarvasya. Vedaischa sarviraham eva vedya. The third line of this verse means that Vedaischa sarvir aham. And through all the Vedas, I am to be known. So, if you study the Vedas, and someone asks you a question, what is the ultimate end of Vedanta? He says, liberation, mukti. No, that's not the ultimate end of it. It is ayurarogya aishwarya. No, that's not. It is merging into the Brahman. No, that's not the ultimate end. Becoming God. No, that's not the ultimate end. The ultimate end is to know Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and know that you are the eternal servant of the Lord. And where does Krishna say that? At the end of the 15th chapter. This 15th Purushottama. Sasarvavid bhajante man sarvabhavina bharata. Says, whoever knows me, meaning Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So there's two things. If you know Krishna, and you know you are the eternal servant of Krishna, then what do? You serve Krishna. That means someone is self-realized. And then he quoted 15:7. 15 explains who Krishna is, right? And what is the purpose of the Vedas. 15:7 explains who we are. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana means that Mamai Vamsa, we are part and parcel of Krishna eternally. That's who we are. We're eternally related to Krishna. No one is independent of Krishna. We are part and parcel of the Lord. Therefore, that because of the six senses, and especially the mind has become corrupted by prolonged lifetimes of sense gratification, and because of all the false propaganda of material science and materialistic philosophies and so forth. So the mind has become corrupted and diverted from what our constitutional position is. Constitutionally, we're part and parcel of Krishna. We are never independent of the Lord. And because we're part and parcel of Krishna, our real duty in life is to serve the Lord. This is a very tight philosophy. There's no way of escaping it. You know? The only way you can escape it is to desire sense gratification. Then Krishna helps you to become a sense gratifier because you want it so much. And that way, our whole life is ruined. Next life we go back into the animal or insect or fish body and start all over again, going slowly back to the human form. Okay, so there is 2 verses. The Prabhupada must have the qualification of a medical man, and he is called a doctor. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita also accepts the Brahminical culture. The Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture means the social position in which everyone is assisted to elevate himself to the highest position of understanding, the position and the constitution of the soul. That should be the aim of human society. So, just like in ISKCON, everyone has a chance, men and women, to become a Brahmin. Brahmin means they understand the constitution of the soul. And because they understand that, they dedicate themselves to the service of Krishna. They understand who Krishna is. They are the eternal servants of the Lord, part and parcel of the Lord. There's no question of ever being independent of the Lord. That's all an illusion. And therefore they engage in the service of the Lord. The earlier we learn this, the better for ourselves. Just like Prahlad Maharaj said, that right from childhood we should learn this. We shouldn't waste our life on other things like baseball, football, cricket, pinball machines, and before there were no video games, they played pinball machines. You ever see a pinball machine? They're like obsolete now. But that was the main thing for kids. You know, if you could if your dad could buy you a pinball machine in the house, you'd be it's like buying you an Xbox. You know, you could play that all day long. All these things divert the mind of a child from Krishna consciousness, or watching Disney movies, or watching, other nonsensical things. It diverts the mind. So Prabhupada says, any human being can be trained to become Brahmin. What does Brahmin mean? It doesn't mean it's a social caste. It means they understand the real constitution of the soul in relationship to Krishna. Yeah.
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah.
It's not related to this, but like we know that we achieve the human form after a lot of good deeds, right? That we have achieved this state.
No, you achieve
rising
it. You
from
achieve it automatically. Automatically by going through all those different forms.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying
But
to
in the
say.
human form, there is good and bad karma.
Right. So I wanted to understand that we achieve the human form after going through all of these different forms and species. How come we have serial killers whose mind is so impure and the absence of consciousness? Why such a drastic difference?
16th chapter.
Well, that is due to association. Tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. So, what you're saying, some people are born with those qualities.
Exactly.
Yes, that's your question, right? Why are some people born with?
Yeah.
Because it's not their first birth. There's always a carryover. What is the carryover? When a person dies, it's only their gross body that dies. The subtle body, made of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, does not die. And all the false concepts one has in the mind, plus with the pressure of previous activities, good and bad, karma, and unachieved material desires. All those things together will force the living entity to take another material body.
But would he fall in the, the stack to a lower form?
It depends. Most people have a mixed bag of good and bad karma. It depends. Right? Like for example, you may be a sense gratifier, but one day, by accident, you saw the Rath Yatra cart, Jagannath come by, and you saw the Lord. That gives you a right to have a human birth again. But you have the negative that comes with you, right? And in that next life, what comes with you? You have to understand the following. There is inherent in everyone the tendency to engage in sense gratification and sinful activity. That tendency is there. Right? Now, when we're born, that tendency that doesn't provide any spiritual training, and they force us to go to these schools where everything is mixed up and they're being taught materialistic values and so forth. And there's all kinds of influences in that school, and there can be some evil people in that school and so forth, right? Or there can be evil members of the family also, right? That exploit the kids. And all of a sudden, the kid gets contaminated from early on, or in the teenage years. And they become addicted to bad behavior. Just like one man who was a Supreme Court judge, one of his sons became a Supreme Court judge, and the other son became a rickshawala. Both born in the same family.
What's a ritual?
A rickshawala is someone who
A rickshaw.
Rickshaw.
he doesn't.
I thought you said rickshaw or something.
Rickshawala. So usually, if you go to Calcutta, you see they have human beings that make the rickshaw go. They don't even have a motor. They're just a human, and they're walking barefoot in the street. And they're carrying a person, not carrying, but they're moving with the rickshaw, and a person sitting in the back seat like this. And the man is walking fast, making it go from one place to the other. So, why did one son become a rickshaw while the other son became a Supreme Court judge? Because of bad association. Bad association. They were already born with a carryover. So, here's what happens. The tendency to sin is inherent in the human being. And if they come into circumstances where that tendency is encouraged, then they commit a sin. And then there are two reactions that come. There's two stages of reaction. One is called the unseen stage, and the second is called the mature stage, right? And then unrealized. And then there's the budding of it. And in the budding stage, you have bad dreams, you have irresistible desires, you have irresistible attractions, like you're attracted to other people who are committing sinful activity, and so forth. And then it fructifies, where you get the reaction in the form of, you can be born stupid or ugly, you can have financial problems, you can have legal problems, you can have congenital health problems, right? That's the mature stage. And then, after going through all that suffering, you die, and what remains is sin, and plus your karma. So again, it can go again, right? So that tendency to sin is something that has to be purified through Krishna consciousness. Otherwise it leads to sin, then unseen reactions, then budding of those reactions, then the full maturity of the reaction, then you die, and then again you have your karma and the tendency to sin.
But the tendency to sin at the time of birth is not equivalent in all human beings, right? It varies depending on your karma and
No, it's equal to everyone.
It's equivalent for everybody?
Yeah. There's a tendency. That doesn't mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you're saying is someone can have a bigger tendency at birth than someone else. It's the tendency, and depending on what you experience in life, that tendency can grow or that can diminish or be eliminated. See, that's why Prahlad Maharaj said that right from childhood, the child should be trained in Krishna consciousness, so that that tendency does not increase. Yes. And it's said that Guru Nasasyat, Swajana Nasasyat, Pita Nasasyat, Janani Nasasyat. That you should not be a guru, you should not be a father, you should not be a mother, unless you can train the child to be Krishna conscious. You don't have a right. You should not be a leader of society. You should not, unless you can train the child, because otherwise, if you don't do that, you're just prolonging your child's suffering in this life and the next. One who cannot deliver his dependents from the path of repeated and death should never become a spiritual master, a father and mother, a husband, or a worshipable demigod. Demigods are like gurus also. Shouldn't even attempt it, because you're just going to corrupt the child, and then it's just going to cause them more suffering. So the duty of parents before they become parents, the duty of a husband or wife before they should become Krishna conscious, so that they can teach their kids by their example and through whatever form. The whole house is a temple, like atmosphere. So then, okay, so we're continuing the Prabhupada saying, human society is not animal society. The difference between animal society and human society is that a human being, whoever he may be, he can, if he is taught, if he is given training, if he is educated, he can understand his real position. That he is not this body, but he is pure consciousness. He is spirit soul. But in the animal society, however a big animal may be, either he may be a lion or a tiger or an elephant or any other big animal, he cannot be taught about the constitution of the soul. Although he has got the soul also, a lower animal, he has also got the consciousness. He has got also a soul. But unfortunately, he hasn't got the facility, the bodily facility or developed intelligence by which he can understand that, what he is. So that is the difference between animal and human being. So in the human society, if they do not care to understand this factual position of his soul or consciousness, then he is no better than an animal. Yes, that is the Vedic version. Ahara nityabhaya maitunam cha. This is a quote from the Hitopatesh book. Samanyam etat pasubir naranam. Dharmo hitesam adiko vishesho. Dharmena hina pasubi samana. Ahara meaning. Nidra means sleeping. And bhaya means fearing. And maituna means sexual intercourse. So these four things, four principles of life, there is in the animal kingdom and in the human kingdom. But the human kingdom, the human body is distinct from the animal body in this respect, that in human society there is religion. Generally we understand it as religion. Religion means a culture of the spirit soul. It may be in different way understood in different countries, but the whole idea is to understand the spirit soul. So dharmena hina pasubi samanaha. If the human society is not very eager to understand the real position of the soul or consciousness, it is no better than the animals. That is the version of the Vedas. And actually it is so. Our developed consciousness, our developed life should be utilized in this human form of life to understand what I am. The whole trouble in human society is because they have forgotten the constitutional position of the self. We have already discussed all these points in previous meetings, but because today we have got some new friends, ladies and gentlemen, therefore I have given you a summary of the last teachings. I mean to say meetings. Now today, we have to consider that simply theoretically knowing I am consciousness will not do. It's not enough. Simply theoretical knowledge, because the position of consciousness is activity. Now, body is active. I am speaking to you. You are hearing me. Congregationally, we chanted Sankirtan just now. They did Harinam chanting. Why? Because the consciousness is present. If there was no consciousness either in you or I, then I could not chant, neither you could hear, or neither you could chant. Neither I could hear. So therefore the position of consciousness is activity. There are many philosophies in the world, particularly the philosophy which is called atheism. They think that consciousness is produced by material combination, like Mr. Turing and so many other scientists and philosophers. And when consciousness is gone, that means the material composition could not tolerate or could not produce anything. They have got different theory like that. In other words, when the consciousness is gone, it means that the chemicals no longer were functioning properly. Therefore, the person died. But so far we are concerned, Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, does not, accept this theory. Consciousness is eternal. It never dies. The soul never dies. Only the temporary body dies. Consciousness is eternal. And consciousness is a symptom of the soul. The soul is eternal. When the soul takes shelter in the matter, then matter develops. Not that the combination of matter, you can produce soul. You see how the scientists have got it all wrong. And this is what they teach in schools. See? So, subjecting them to education is violent. I'm not kidding you. It is. You're letting your child be molested by these demons for teaching them that you are this body and the purpose of life is sense gratification, and to have a lot of sense gratification you need a lot of money, and therefore you should learn how to do this or learn how to do that to make that money. Right? This is not possible. If that would have been possible, then there are many great scientists and many scientific laboratories, especially in your Western countries, in Europe and America. Yes, they can analyze the body while it's living and know all the chemicals in it, and they can analyze the body when it's dead and know which chemicals are missing, and they can inject those chemicals into the body and it should be able to bring it back to life. But it doesn't work because the life force is not chemical. If it was chemical, they would have solved the problem long ago. Right? There's so much knowledge of chemicals and physiology. They dissect. But you want to become a doctor, you dissect the human body. Right? They know all the parts of the body. You have to memorize all the different names of the parts of the body to become a doctor. Right? And they know all the they know everything in an egg. They know everything about the egg. They know what the shell is made of, they know what the yolk is made of, they know everything, but they can't produce an egg. Because the egg is more than simply those chemicals and those minerals. Have they ever produced an egg? They have an artificial egg? No. Now they're producing artificial meat. Right. Would you buy artificial? Well, you wouldn't buy meat in the first place. People are afraid to buy it. When it comes to the market, they're going to be afraid to buy it. Because they don't know what will happen if you eat it. But they're already taking artificial medicines. So many of them, right? They're already eating so many artificial ingredients in foods. So many. Right? You can go down a list of all the artificial ingredients in industrially produced food. You'd be scared. Nowadays, like in the cereals, they say no preservatives. No, but they put the preservatives in the wrapping of the cereal. That way they don't have to declare it. You see. They're very clever people. Very clever people. But nobody could produce a single living being in the laboratory. Scientific laboratory. That is not possible. You can produce great complicated machinery, but you cannot produce the machine driver. Right? Yeah, you can produce a wonderful car, but you can't produce the driver of the car. Nowadays they say, oh yes, we can. With AI, we can produce, self-driving cars. Right? What happened to Google's self-driving car? You know? It killed somebody.
Tesla.
Was it Tesla or Google?
Google actually killed. Tesla is also breaking.
Tesla didn't kill anyone yet.
Not yet.
There was one accident.
Google is more advanced. Yeah, the car killed somebody. It's supposed to be, AI, there's not going to be any accidents, and you can just close your eyes and sit there and you'll get to that. They killed somebody. Right? Nowadays also they're making these robot soldiers, right? But they're afraid that the robot soldiers will go rogue and start killing the robot makers. Yeah. I mean, you see, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. The machine can be produced, but machine driver cannot be produced. And without machine driver, all machines are useless. All machines are useless. A child may see in the street, oh, how a nice motor car is passing with so much speed. He is struck with wonder that without any horse, how the motor car is going on. I mean, those who have no experience, how a machine works. Just like in India, of course. I heard the story from my professor when I was a student of logic in my IA class. What is IA? It's the opposite of AI. Okay. This example is given by my professor, Dr. Purnachandra Sena. I still remember that when first railway was started from Howrah to Burdwan, so we're going back over 100 years, about 64 miles during British periods, say, about 200 years before. Oh, that's 200 years. Now the cultivators on both sides of the line, they were seeing the railway engine going with wonder. Oh, so this story was cited in connection with chapter of hypothesis. So they're studying philosophy. Right. Logic. Yeah. So he said IA. It's probably LA. Yeah. In logic, there is this chapter of hypothesis. So somebody suggested that there must be horse within the engine. Otherwise it cannot go. Because they have got experience that without horse nothing can be pulled on. It is horseless. So the hypothesis was that there must be horses within the engine. Otherwise it cannot go. So similarly, the machine, however wonderful it may be, so if not horse, at least there is no driver, it cannot move. It cannot move. Okay, so what he's saying is, when the first engines and trains were built, and then they started going into the country, and the farmers saw it, they were convinced that there must be a horse inside. The first time Prabhupada saw a phonograph, a record playing machine, it has that big
Gramophone.
speaker. Yeah, it's a big speaker. Prabhupada thought there was a little man inside speaking. The first time he saw that. So how can you hear the voice unless there's somebody inside? The whole world is moving by combination of matter and spirit. That's all. The whole material world, just like, actually, it's not really a combination. It looks like a combination, but matter and spirit never mix chemically. Just the matter covers the soul. But everything is made of these two things in the world. The whole material world, just like my body is moving due to the presence of my soul, myself as soul. Similarly, it is very easy to understand. The whole cosmic manifestation is working due to the presence of the Supreme Soul, whom we call God or the Super Soul or Paramatma or Bhagavan. So, therefore, here's a perfect example. You can understand life and you can understand God by analyzing yourself. You and I are a combination of matter and spirit. So we can extend that. The whole universe is a combination, therefore, of matter and spirit. Just by analyzing ourselves, we understand so much in life. Whatever name you call, that doesn't matter. But you must understand that without presence of the soul, the body cannot move. Similarly, the whole materialistic world, cosmic atmosphere, is moving due to the presence of the super soul. So see, again, this is diametrically opposite to what the scientists say. They say that things move by gravity, things move by different forces acting, and they reject the existence of God or any supernatural being. So this is the basis of humanistic education. Humanistic education is the system that's being taught in all the schools, in Europe, in America, and in India. So let me ask, let's see, Arush, did any of your teachers in public school talk about God? No. Okay, some of you ladies, you went to college, right? Did they talk about...
In India, it is they are not supposed to speak about God.
No, but why are you saying in India? In America also. That's humanistic religion, that's humanistic philosophy, which is the basis of all education today. Humanism, look it up when somebody open up their cell phone.
Prabhu, I would disagree that it's not taught in school because in the morning we have the prayers, right? But some students are part of the choir. The prayer is
But
always
if it's a
offered to
Christian
God.
school, then like my sisters went to a convent, so they were very, they had all these prayers and all that. But I went to a school which was not very strict about religion as such. So if you had to pray, we had to say all that, Our Father in Heaven, we would say one Saraswati prayer, and that. It is never like one prayer, though it was all, that kind
By the
of
way,
prayer.
that is not allowed in the United States. When I went to school, every morning they would read the Bible. Then a decision came from the Supreme Court, they stopped reading the Bible.
So in India,
That
minority
is
religion
probably
is
trying
allowed
to be
to
neutral to all.
Hindu, moral training is absolutely right.
What's that?
In India,
The
to protect
minorities are
minorities,
allowed to.
they can create their own schools and they can run as they want. So
Well, here you can have, the Catholics have their own schools. And,
yeah, so you can do anything that you want, but a Hindu cannot create his own school and preach anything like Hinduism related things. That is not allowed. Because you are in majority. So it's in constitution. So people are protesting now, like why is it like this?
They read Bhagavad Gita. No, the point is not which specific religion. This question was, do they tell you about God? God is universal, right?
Yeah,
Not
in that,
specific
Prabhu, in
religion.
Hindi, English, Punjabi languages, we have to read poems from, we analyze Ramayana.
And we have a model. We
That
have
is
a
only in
model
villages.
science
I'm talking
class.
about the cosmopolitan places that we didn't.
Okay, read the definition of humanism.
I don't think
Human.
An outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or social.
Moral is God about in general, but not about a specific religion.
Prabhu, in India, they teach about God, right? Basically in moral science. There is a subject known as moral science, and they teach about God and like.
What do they teach?
So they even teach subjects like some chapters from Bhagavad Gita.
No, but what did they teach exactly? What did they say about God? You took that course, right?
No, like I mean, she went to another school, I went to another school, so I actually did some generic purpose, like I remember, like some generic purpose things like honesty, values.
That is
So
moral science.
they didn't teach you in your school about God.
Moral
So I was going to a convent school, which is like more like Bible and all that. They teach basically. They used to give us Bible.
So I'm not getting it straight. Did you learn about God in that school or just about morality?
Moral science, you have a subject called
Wait a
moral
minute, let her
science,
answer the
only
question.
morality.
Only morality, okay. Yes, what does it say?
Humanism, an outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters.
Yes.
Humanist
They,
beliefs,
they're eliminating God. Go ahead.
humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems.
Yeah, they don't accept Shastra. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a definition.
Yeah, so they reject what they say superhuman or
Natural matters.
supernatural.
Divine or
In
supernatural.
other words, this is the basis of education in India as well as Europe. And it's coming from Europe and it's coming from the United States. Humanistic philosophy is the basis of the whole educational system now. That's why with a kid that goes through it, unless they have strong family, let's say, training or strong spiritual training, they will come out a perfect atheist. They will not believe in God. But after going through 12 or 18 or 20 years of that system, they will become an atheist. Guaranteed. How much is atheism growing in India? You tell me. Huh?
Currently, most of them are atheists.
That's what happens when you go through that system of education. Okay. So, now, in Bhagavad Gita, you will find that we individual souls are part and parcels of the super soul. So we have got eternal relation with the Supreme Soul. What did we just hear? Read that again. Read that again. Let me hear that.
An outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters.
Exactly. And what is Bhagavad Gita saying? That we have a relationship with Krishna eternally. And these jokers say that there's no such thing. And this is the basis of the whole educational system. They just base everything on science, logic, and reason. And they put all the importance on the human being and nothing about God. Zero. That's why I asked Garush, did they ever teach you about God? No. So, you might say it's worse here than in India. In India, they might teach you something. But they teach morality here too. Not that the kids follow it, but they teach it here also. Values and so forth. We have got an eternal relation with the Supreme Soul, qualitatively, not quantitatively. We are one with the Supreme qualitatively. Just like a drop of ocean water, qualitatively is equal to the mass water in the ocean. The mass water in the ocean is salty, and the drop of ocean water, if you taste it, you'll find it is also salty. So the chemical composition of the water, either in a drop or in vast mass, is the same. But the drop of ocean water is never equal to the vast mass of the ocean. I mean to say mass water in the ocean. That is our position. We are in quality. The same as God, chemically or constitutionally or qualitatively. But God's power and my power is different. Just like the mass water in the ocean, it can play a havoc. But a drop of water is not possible by the drop of water. So this is an important point, because there are many philosophies in India that say you can become equal to God. Right? You can become equal to God. Jainism, Buddhism, Mayavad philosophy. All three of those say at some point you can become like God. In your powers. Right? And so many modern gurus in India are teaching like that. You can become Shivam, and the power of Shiva. It's all nonsense. But here, the real philosophy is we are qualitatively one with God, but quantitatively different. We can never be equal to or greater than God. We always will be subordinate. That's what that verse 15:7 says. Mamai jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We are mama eva amsa, a part, a fragmental part of the Supreme Lord. We have the same qualities, but not the same quantity. But there are so many man gods in India. If you went on television and you made an announcement, will the real Bhagavan please stand up? How many people would stand up in India? Huh? A lot. And they all look at each other. Yeah, you're Bhagavan. Okay, I'll agree that you're Bhagavan if you agree I'm Bhagavan. So that's what they do. They have this secret agreement. That I agree you're Bhagavan if you agree I'm Bhagavan. See, that way they don't. But that's why they didn't like Prabhupada, because Prabhupada never agreed that they're Bhagavan. So they wouldn't invite Prabhupada to any of their programs. Okay. Similarly, that is the difference between ourself and God. We are minute particles, just like the sun and the sun rays. The sunshine, the sun rays, they are also a combination of molecules of some shiny material. So shiny material. So that shiny sunshine is not different from the sun, but at the same time, sunshine is not the sun. This is called simultaneously one and different. So Prabhupada just explained Achintya Veda Abeda Tattva. This philosophy was, expounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Achintya Veda Abeda, Achintya Veda Abeda, simultaneously one and different. Now, in order to keep our position intact, that theoretically we have understood I am not this body, but I am consciousness, pure soul. That is our theoretical. Not theoretical, but it is practical. Anyone can understand. Any sane man can understand. I am not this body, I am the soul. Now, to keep myself fixed up in that conviction, we require to work for it. Yeah, it's just like a man who gets a PhD in nuclear physics, but decides to earn a living by driving a taxi. So, what good was that education? Zero. If you're convinced I am pure spirit soul, but you just engage in cricket, baseball, basketball, stock market, and so forth, going to the casino. I had a cousin, he was a gambler. His whole life he was a gambler. He moved from Philadelphia to Las Vegas so he could spend all his time in the casino gambling. And he ended up a complete disaster. Lost everything. He was always borrowing money, promising people he was going to triple the money. It's like a stockbroker, right? But he was a gambler. He had an addiction to gambling. Ruined his whole life. He never made any money. He only made money by borrowing money from people. So they figured out that, this guy's nonsense. So he kept finding new people, to borrow money. So you see, that is wasting our life. If we understand theoretically I'm soul, but I don't engage in the activity of the soul, that theoretical knowledge is useless. It's just like having a PhD in nuclear physics and driving a taxi the rest of your life. That's why Prabhupada says, it's not enough to theoretically understand something. You have to actually work. And Krishna says the same thing. Aham sarvasya prabhavam. Matak sarvam pavartate. Iti matva bhajanti mam. Buddha bhava saman vitaha. I am the origin of everything material and spiritual. Those persons who know this engage in my service. Or Krishna also says, a very nice verse, he says, fourth chapter. Yeah, he says, Apichet asipapibhya sarvebhya papa sarvebhya papakritama. Yeah. Sarvam jnana plavenaiva rijinam santarishyasi. So this is 4th chapter, 36th verse. Let's take a look at that verse. It says, even if you are considered the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. This is an extremely important verse. It's full of hope for everyone. And Prabhupada says, proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Krishna is so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle for existence which goes on in the ocean of nescience or ignorance. This material world is sometimes regarded as an ocean of ignorance or nescience, and sometimes as a blazing forest. In the ocean, however expert the swimmer one may be, the struggle for existence is very severe. If someone comes forward and lifts the struggling swimmer from the ocean, he is the greatest savior. Perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the path of liberation. The boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time, the most sublime. So this verse is saying, even if you're the worst of the worst sinner in this world, if you're situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, this is a very beautiful word, jnana plavenaiva. Jnana plavenaiva means the boat of transcendental knowledge. This is what Prabhupada is explaining in this, what we're reading now. Transcendental knowledge. I am not this body. I am a pure spirit soul. And I'm eternally part and parcel of Krishna. There's no such thing as being independent from God. There is a God. It's not like the humanists say there's no God. There's just humans and science and logic and reason. This is complete nonsense. Okay? That's why they don't talk about God in the public schools. Not allowed to. Or if they have a world religion class, they explain each religion incorrectly. So that, the kids are misled. You get more confused by taking a world religion class than you were before. Before you took the class, you thought, well, maybe there's God, After you take the world religion class, they're all nonsense, This one believes this, that one believes that. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, he says, in Hinduism, or real Hinduism, they don't kill animals. Right? The ahimsa. Cows. In Islam, the more they kill, the more God is pleased. So people get confused. They don't understand. One religion is saying the more animals you kill, the better God. The other one is saying you shouldn't kill any animals. So people get confused. They say, wait a minute, this is all nonsense. I'm not going to believe any of it. That's why it says, Tarko Pratista Shrutayo Vibhina. Nasag Munir Yasya Matam Hibinam. Dharmasya Tattvam Nihita Guhayam Mahajana Yenakata Sapanta. That you cannot understand religious or spiritual reality through argument, logic, and reason. You cannot understand it through studying this scripture or that scripture. You cannot understand it by going to this guru or that guru. Because the essence of all spirituality is a secret that's kept in the heart of the genuine, pure devotee. Therefore, Mahajana Yena Gatasapanta, you must follow the Mahajan, the example of the Mahajan. Just like in Christianity, they follow Jesus. In Islam, they follow Muhammad. Krishna consciousness, we follow Krishna. Incarnation as Vyasadeva, or an incarnation as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, therefore, you can only understand the essence of spirituality by the example of the Mahajans, great devotees, great pure devotees. But you can go to this philosopher and that philosopher, and you get more confused than before you went. You can go to the world religion class, you get more confused than before you took the class. You can go to this guru or that guru, and you get more confused. Like you go to Sadguru, he says there's no God. You go to Prabhupada, he says there's a God. You get more confused. Sadguru says there's no God.
He says we can create a God.
You can create a God. Yeah. So this verse was written 5,000 years, more than 5,000 years ago. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's telling the truth. Therefore you have to follow the Mahajan, just like Bhisma Pita Maharaj, the Mahajan. And Yamaraj is a Mahajan. And Narada Muni is a Mahajan. These are the people we should follow, right? By their example. Okay. And Prabhupada is a Mahajan because he's repeating the words of the Mahajans, and the example. So here it says, just like a child, a boy, I mean to say, he's addicted to play. But if you want to stop his mischievous activities, and if you want to stop him, then you must give him some good engagement. If you simply stop the child, don't play, by threatening or by some other way, you can stop him artificially for some time, but as soon as he gets opportunity, he will again play. Just like I get invited to people's homes to do these house programs, and they invite all their friends and relatives. So the kids are usually upstairs screaming, bang! There's like a nightclub going on upstairs. And downstairs we're trying to hear something about Krishna, but it's being totally usurped, or totally performed by the kids running wild. Yeah, make that.
You're fully convinced, actually.
Yeah. So that's not a program. And why did they all come together? That's not a program. And I tell the parents, tell your kids to come downstairs and sit next to you so they can also hear. They think it's okay that they're upstairs playing, right? It's not okay. That's the whole problem. The pravachan is not for the parents. It's mostly for the kids. The parents already know a little something, but that passation from parents to kids is broken nowadays. It's broken. And because of that, society is getting worse, without any training. Parents are too busy making money. Too busy making money. So they send the kids to the demon schools, and the kid ends up, brain damaged by all the misconceptions that they're teaching in the schools. It's like Tulsi, if you know who she is. Even in our own school, the teacher said that Tulsi said they were learning about Darwinism, and Tulsi said, "Well, I don't believe this. I don't believe Krishna created it all." The teacher said, "No, I have proof that it's true." And Tulsi didn't say anything because it's a teacher. She said, "It's true that we come from monkeys. I have evidence." What was the evidence? She said, "First is the thumb. The monkeys have the thumb like this, and we have the thumb like that." Then she said, "And second is the teeth. Do we have the same type of teeth as monkeys? And third is we have the tailbone. We don't have the tail, but we have the tailbone. So that's proof that we came from monkeys." Until she didn't know what to say. So I taught her, what you say is, Bhagavad Gita 14.4. Sarva yoni sukonteya murtaye sambhavanti. Tasam brahma mahadhyonir aham bijapradapita. What does that say? It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. Okay, so now we have two things. Darwin says we all come from amoebas, up to monkeys, and then from monkeys, human beings. And Krishna says, I am the seed-giving Father of all living entities. Yes, yes.
What if the people don't believe in the authority of Bhagavad Gita? What if
No, wait a minute. I'm going to explain that. Listen, then you'll have the argument, right? You'll have the key. So here, one side is Darwin, who's the authority, right? The teacher accepts the authority of Darwin. You know, the thumb and the teeth and the tailbone, right? And over here is Tulsi. She's quoting 14.4, and the authority is Krishna. So now, where do we go from there? Well, now we have a right to compare the two authorities. Darwin got sick, he's ugly, he smells, and he died. And Krishna is an ever young, pristine youth. He's eternal, his body is transcendental, he never dies. So now we compare the two authorities. Darwin is junk, and Krishna is real.
But if they don't believe in Krishna?
No, it's not a question of believing or not believing. We have a right to compare the authorities. See? And anyway, Darwin's theory has never been proven to be true. Why? Because you don't have the actual fossil record of the cross between a monkey and a man. They claim sometimes that, they found it, but it's never really a fact. Darwin said, I'm not going to live long enough to find all the fossils. Right? But in the future, you'll find it. Well, they still haven't found all the fossils.
They have or haven't?
Have not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes they claim, though. I mean, it was in the news. It was in the news just a couple of days ago. There was a new claim that they found a so-called monkey man.
So Prabhuji, I think the theory said that the monkeys eventually evolved to human beings because there were so
Then
many.
how come the monkeys still
Still
exist?
there. Right?
How come the monkeys still
monkeys are
exist
there, right?
if they evolved to human beings?
I had the same question, but they said some of them really evolved through ages, and some of them continue to exist like this.
Yeah, and you believed it. You believe that? Huh? How come all the species are still there if they evolved? You see, it's a whole bunch of nonsense. You think you have a monkey in your family? I know I don't have a monkey in my family, but maybe you do, I don't know. Maybe you think you have a monkey in your family. The whole thing is preposterous. It's ridiculous, doesn't make sense. There's no actual proof that it's true. So, we have a right to compare the authorities. Just like you go to one doctor and he says, oh, I think you have cancer. You go to another doctor and says, that's nonsense, you don't have cancer. So, you have a right to compare the authorities. Right? You're not obliged to believe one or the other. You have a right to compare them and see which one is speaking more rationally. Rationally is, we all come from Krishna, right? Krishna has 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and so forth, right? But yet he comes also sometimes as a fish, sometimes as a half lion, half man. Sometimes he comes as a turtle, and so forth. Krishna actually incarnates in every species to help that species evolve spiritually. But then the idiots, they say, oh no, this proves Darwinism because he first came as a fish, and then he came as a turtle, and then he came as a human being. That's nonsense. They give a Darwinian explanation to the Das Avatar.
Yeah, they do.
That's complete nonsense. You see. Now the question is who to believe, because education and knowledge does not depend on what you study. It depends on who you accept as an authority. From that point on, you begin to learn from that authority. So the kids are being forced to accept false teachers as authorities, and they're getting poisoned by it. Whereas, by reading Bhagavad Gita, you accept Krishna as the authority. He's the original guru. Anyway, all these books that they're studying, they will be thrown away in a few years. But we're still reading Krishna's book. Hey, how's that? 5,000 years ago he spoke Bhagavad Gita, and we're still reading it today. Is there any other book that's 5,000 years old in this world? No, there isn't. Bible is not, Quran is not, Buddhist writings are not. All these books that your kids are studying today, in a few years they're all going to be thrown away. They're going to be obsolete. Right? But this thing will still be there. This Bhagavad Gita will still be there. Why? Because it is irrevocably true. Everything in it. That's why. Otherwise, they would have been thrown away a long time ago. All right. So now Prabhupada is saying, let's see what time is it. We'll stop in a few minutes. So he's saying you can't stop a child from wanting to play unless you offer the child something better. So be it in the conscious plane, if you do not give engagement to the consciousness, then naturally consciousness will act through this body. In other words, if we don't work on the plane of spiritual, I am a spirit soul, then we'll naturally gravitate toward I am this body. Because there's no practical activity on the level of the soul. Right? You don't get that activity by going to Disneyland. You don't get that activity by watching this movie or that movie. You don't get that activity by eating junk food. You don't get that activity by reading all these novels that are being written. It's like, there's one gentleman who came to the temple last week. He said, Prabhu, I got a problem. I said, what's your problem? He said, my son, he doesn't believe in anything. He said, and my wife is the same. I'm trying to convince them to read Bhagavad Gita, chant Hare Krishna. They're not interested at all. My wife reads these books, big books like this, all about women's liberation, all about, psychology, right? And the more she reads, the more she becomes distant from spiritual life. I can't convince her. She doesn't, not interested. And my son is even worse. He's going to this big university, but he's living in squalor. He doesn't bathe. He eats junk food. He's got a rash all over his body. But he's going to become a computer expert. Yeah. But he's killing himself. He said, I can't convince the kid. So is that a problem? Big problem. Why? Because they're reading all these junk books. Look at all the books that are, you go to a library, it's all full of junk books, And they're all different philosophies and different ideas and different this thing and different that thing. And, you just get confused. Right? You go into, black history. You read all these books, these big books about black history. You have these big books about women's this or women's that. And you have all these books about gender. Nowadays there's so many different genders. There used to be 2 genders before. Now it's like 15, 20, like up to 70 genders. Did you know that? There are up to 70 genders now. Used to be 2 genders. There's 7, I'm not kidding you. I don't want to go into it. Then I'd be accused of being a homophobe or a misogynist or something. But yes, there are up to 70 genders now. And you have to adjust your speaking. You cannot say he or she. You have to say it or that person. You're not allowed to say he or she. If you say he or she, you'll be accused of gender bias. Did you know that? No. Oh, you're way behind.
All this happens in America.
Do they talk about that in your school? Huh? No? Okay. It's coming down the pike.
Some teachers say.
What?
Some teachers say that.
Say what?
Like there are other genders.
Did they talk about you can't use he or she?
No, not that, but like one of my teachers told me that some people might feel like they're not a male or female.
They're not what?
Male or female.
What?
My teacher said that some people might feel like they're not male or female.
Yes. Right.
She said that it's okay to feel like different.
It's okay to feel like that, right? No. What she's doing, what your teacher is doing is getting you ready to accept that.
Yes.
She's putting that idea in your mind that it's okay to feel like that. She said that, right? Yeah. So that is called grooming. Grooming. Look it up in the book. Look it up in the book. It's a very, very, very dangerous thing. And the teachers do this nowadays. They groom the kids.
But Prabhu, they don't do it when the teacher is in trouble.
How do you know?
Usually they kind of,
Well, then who's telling them to do it?
they have to kind of tell,
What?
They have to tell the kids about this, right? There are a bunch of people.
Is that
who are-
education to tell your kid it's okay if you want to change your gender? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that, Prabhu. But
So then why should the teachers be teaching something like that that you don't agree with?
Yeah, it's part of the curriculum.
It is?
yeah, because it,
How do you know?
they
I
are
have
fired
my cousin.
then.
What? What?
I have my cousin, he stays in Redmond, and his son in high school, it's part of his curriculum.
That it's okay to be gender neutral or gender this
So
or
they
that.
start from 6th grade about flash education,
Yeah.
and going ahead it just changes to that.
This is my point, yes.
No, but Prabhu, there are people who are transgender, it's a reality. It's just acceptance is there because there was a lot of bias towards those people, they were ill-treated, so I don't think that there is anything wrong by having people to accept them, right? It is when they start taking advantage of that situation or they start digressing from believing in God and stuff like that, then that's wrong. But if there
Well,
are
let's
people
see.
like that, that's not their fault.
Okay, so this is a good point. Let's discuss this because this is a very important point. You say there are people that are naturally
Yeah, they are
transgender.
transgender.
Yeah. That is not exactly a fact. Because gender is fluid. I agree. It's a fluid thing, right? But when a person gets into that fluidity, right, they get confused in life.
But it's what they feel inside, right?
Well, look, I feel like I should kill someone. Should I?
No, but not everyone feels like that, right? It's something which is an abnormal
How do
feeling.
you know not everyone feels like that?
No, I mean, like, I don't feel like I want to be a male, or most of the males won't feel like they want to be a woman.
But no,
It
but
is
if you were
something
groomed, you might feel it. What's the definition of grooming?
It says what grooming is the process by which an offender draws a victim into a sexual relationship and maintains that relationship in secrecy.
What?
Grooming is the process by which an offender draws a victim into a sexual relationship and maintains that relationship in secrecy.
In secrecy, okay.
Shrouded.
So, everybody has different tendencies. Should we promote all those tendencies? I mean, I might have a tendency to be a murderer. Should that be permitted because it's a natural tendency?
No, I'm not saying it should be promoted. I'm saying that there is a class of people who do feel trapped in the body that they are.
We're all trapped in the body. Everybody's trapped in the body.
That's true. Prabhu,
What are we studying here? I am not the body. if you say, oh, if someone wants to be transgender, that should be encouraged, that is opposite of this. This is saying, I'm not the body. Therefore, I shouldn't be...
But not everybody is exposed to Hinduism like ours, where it is explained, right? We come from
No, this is not Hinduism. This is a difference here. Hinduism, you also have people called the Hajiras in India, right?
Hijra.
Hajira.
So
Yeah.
in the
That's not, this is not Hinduism. We're not talking about the third gender. We're talking about, there's like 70 genders now. But go ahead, what are you going to say?
No, sorry, you go ahead.
The point is, I am not this body. That's the whole point. That we should accept whatever God has given us and learn this philosophy. Otherwise, we're going down a very dangerous, slippery slope. One day you might have a child, right? And the child goes to school, and the teacher grooms the child to think that there are many genders. And it's okay, and you can be any gender you want to be, or you can change your mind also. You wanted to be a girl, now you want to be a boy, now you want to be this.
But what I'm trying to say is, there are some biological abnormalities, like you're talking about Hijra, right? There's a whole community of Hijra in India.
Yeah.
And those kids are taken away right at their birth. It's not like we realize suddenly that,
Well, what do you mean by they're taken away? Explain that. What is that
I don't
mean?
know exactly, I'm not so
No,
aware.
what you're saying is they are groomed, or they
No,
are
they're not
they're
groomed.
trained. They're
It's not
trained.
like
India
India is not like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
There is something in the
Situation is different because they don't have any motives. First of all, even they die, the community they actually kick them off and curse them, the dead body, just to realize that they should not get that birth again in that body.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. What is
Hijra, I mean that's what they call
Probably
India.
I have studied that their DNAs, like if you study their DNA, most of these people, they have some extra chromosomes which actually...
Wait, what you talking about, Hajiras?
Yes.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
those people, they actually have those biologically.
Yeah.
Those
Everybody
extra-
has different tendencies, but by training, they can overcome that.
But Prabhuji, by taking the example of those people, some people have, modified themselves. They are naturally okay human beings.
Mortified themselves?
Like basically like Michael Jackson, it's a good example of how he used his money to modify himself.
Yeah, but that's a perverted.
So I have a question.
No, so he's a good example that he used his money and power and medical science to modify his biological nature of
That
his
led
body.
to his premature death.
No, but there are many people like him, who are in the similar category.
No, but see,
Mahabharata,
no,
we
don't
have
you
second
understand?
year.
Don't you understand? What are we studying today? I am not this body. The beginning of all spiritual education. All that you're describing is I am this body. You see.
No, but that knowledge comes after going through, reading the scriptures. What I'm saying is, there are people who are born with that abnormal body. It's something natural. It's not something that they have been groomed
It's
to
not,
do.
look, everyone is born with a body. And everyone's born with the tendency to sin. Therefore, children should be trained early in life in spiritual knowledge.
That's true.
Right? With the spiritual knowledge. What did this verse say? Sarve plenaiva Vijinam santarishyasi. If one is situated on the boat of transcendental knowledge, they can cross over the ocean of misery. It doesn't matter who it is. If they're elevated through transcendental knowledge, they can cross over the ocean of misery. Do you think the life of a Hejira is...
It is not.
No, actually that's what I'm saying. When the body they die, actually their community, the people in their community, they actually kick their body to just, it curse them that okay, you should not get this body again.
But they also
Is
kidnap
that
a
a
lot
curse or is that a blessing?
It's a curse. They said that it's a curse to them. That's what they think.
No, getting, but they're
That body is a
blessing them
curse.
that you should not get this body again.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not a curse.
yeah, in that other way context, but they're hate that body.
But
They
say
themselves hate that
that
body.
you're making my point.
No, they
You should not get this body again.
Right. Anybody with an access to it.
No, but that child was not taught right from the beginning that you're not the body. The Hejiras are convinced that you have a particular type of body, but through transcendental knowledge you can transcend that ignorance.
But that comes through knowledge and
Yeah.
No,
The problem-
wait a minute. It should come through the parents and the teachers, but it's not. The parents are saying you are this body. The teachers are saying you are this body. So you want to have fluid gender, but the gender again is bodily identification.
Yeah.
Actually, a devotee does not believe that he's a man or a woman. He just believes that he's a devotee of the Lord.
But that comes through evolving, right?
The main problem of the
We
knowledge
become
is like
conscious.
the
That's
main.
why we become like
But if we don't set up the system by which kids early on can learn this, we are engaged in molestation. We're molesting them.
That's definitely. So there's one
Probably we are
family.
teaching more than required right now in schools. Like these people were there previously also, but there was not so much awareness. But we are now teaching them in school. Probably that is not required.
Yeah, there was one family who used to come to temple, who
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Ekta Mataji's daughter's friend. So that girl, she participated in lots of events in Anand Mela. She was most of the time dressed up as Krishna. And all of a sudden that family stopped coming to temple. And like, I think a year back, that girl, she changed herself, her gender. So Ekta Mataji's daughter, not Goku, the elder one, she came, Ishika, she came and told Ekta Mataji that that girl is no more she, now she has turned into he. So teacher said that.
Oh, is that because she played Krishna in the play?
No, I'm just telling that.
It sounded like that.
No, they used to come to temple and all of a sudden.
Yeah, but she learned that in school, or she
Yeah.
learned that by associating with
So
some
that's
people.
what probably how association like it
Of
changes.
course, of course, of course. The teachers are grooming them.
Yeah, and
They're
teachers say
grooming
that
them.
we should accept
But
that.
there are clubs. There are clubs in the library also, and they have like special clubs. There's special sections in the library where you can go and.
What do you mean? A section for who? For transgendered people?
I mean, where they have special clubs and special trainings and special support groups.
Okay. Anyway, look. What did we learn today? I am not this body.
Yes.
I'm not this gender, I'm not that gender. I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. If you don't learn this, then you fall into the trap of thinking this is okay. That's how they're grooming the kids. They're saying, it's okay, you can be a boy, you can be a girl, you can change your mind anytime you want.
They're adding more confusion, like they're giving more options to.
Yeah, there was a person who, when I was the president of Berkeley Temple, this man walked into the temple, and he said, "My name is Jennifer, and I'm an initiated devotee of Prabhupada." And he gave his name, and it was he was initiated. He said, but I'm actually a woman now, but he was dressed like a man. I'm actually a woman now. I would like to use the ladies' bathroom. I said, no way. So what do you mean, no way? So I'm a woman. I said, you look like a man. He said, but I'm not a man, I'm a woman. I had the operation and everything. I said, oh, okay, look, I said, tell me what your initiated name is. And he gave me the name, right? And I looked it up. And actually, Prabhupada had written him a letter. He had sent a letter to Prabhupada saying that he was born as a man, but he wanted to be a woman. And Prabhupada said, okay, he said, but make up your mind, and once you make up your mind, don't change. If you think you are a woman, then fine. The rest of your life you can be a woman, but don't change your mind. So I asked him, I said, look, you got this letter from Prabhupada, how come you're dressing like a man? He said, well, the operation didn't work so well. I said, this is nonsense. And Prabhupada told him, if you think you are a woman, then you stick to it the rest of your life. this person was a nonsense. But he's insisting on using a lady's bathroom, even though he's dressed like a man. You see? So, that it only causes more confusion. It's not that a person, most people who go through those operations, most of those operations they'll say was a failure. It didn't work properly. Because it's an abnormal thing.
So I think, Prabhu, probably there's a distinction between, there are people, some people who feel they want to be of a different sex, but they have a specific body form of a male or a female. They already have their fully biologically.
Yeah, but I'm saying we all have feelings. Should we surrender to every feeling we have? I have a feeling I should kill someone. Does that mean I have a right to do it?
No, I'm saying those people probably are at fault, or however you want to describe it. And they
No, what's at fault is the society's culture. The culture is permissive of that type of nonsense. As long as it's permissive of that type of nonsense. Like in the case of Prabhupada, he said, okay, you want to be a woman, fine, but stick to it. Don't change your mind. This person was confused because they said the operation was not a success. So they're in limbo because they're trying to do something. Anytime you alter the body, just like there was a woman named Joan Winters. Have you ever heard of her? She was a comedian. She died a couple years ago. She was like 80 years old, but she looked like she was 30. She had so much plastic surgery, right? And she had, had a nose job, and her face looked like she was a young girl. The rest of the body looked like she was an old woman, but the face looked like she was young. She had a hairdo like a young girl, right? And she went in for some kind of adjustment to a cosmetic surgeon, right? And he did something to her and she died. Whenever you alter the body, I know one person who was a sannyasi. He purposely altered his body so that he could never engage in any type of procreation, right? He died very young. Whenever you alter the body, you're taking a big risk.
So, just to cut it short, I wasn't advocating for altering the body. I'm saying that there are some people who are born with abnormal bodies. They don't probably have fully developed male organs or fully developed female organs. And so they are kind of in between, and it's natural for them. I'm not talking of people
It's
wanting
not
to
natural,
alter
you
their
understand?
body.
It's not natural. What is
I mean, it's an abnormality of nature,
Okay,
an aberration of nature.
This verse says that if you situate in a boat of transcendental knowledge, you can cross over all the miseries of life. We should believe it. We should believe it. Like my mother did everything she could to save her auntie, her mother's sister, right? It's a long story. I don't want to go through all the details, but my great auntie suffered terribly, more harrowing than you could ever imagine, right? And my mother saved her. She spent all her money, everything to save her. And the rest of their life, they lived together, right? Two women. They lived together. And my mother loved her, and my auntie loved my mother. They didn't have any physical relationship. They just loved each other, right? So you don't have to complicate the whole thing with the sexual side of it. You can live very peacefully the rest of your life as long as you understand, I'm not this body. I'm a spirit soul. Right? But what's happening today is people succumb to the whole sexual aspect. And they're trying to justify it through biology, through chromosomes or DNA or RNA or through psychology. And it's actually patently wrong. What is right is, I'm not this body. I'll accept whatever God has given me, and I'll use everything in the service of God. Then they can live a peaceful life. Okay, we'll stop right there. Hare Krishna. You see how what we read today, Prabhupada spoke this in 1966, is very pertinent today. No, you can keep them. Your homework is to read the whole thing. And I'll ask you some questions.
that, Prabhu, like the spiritual knowledge and material, spiritual science or spiritual knowledge and material science or material knowledge, whatever you call it. The spiritual knowledge can be just pursued by the realization, self-realization. And it's very hard, unless somebody is realized, it's very hard to grasp that knowledge. But material knowledge or material science is basically anybody can perceive it or understand it. That's why it's easy to people follow material science or material things.
No, they follow it because you can make money.
That's not the only thing, but yeah, it's easy for them to grasp it. But spiritual knowledge, it's not cup of tea of everybody, right? Unless you self-realize.
Because they've been contaminated. They've been contaminated by nonsense.
That's a fact.